Welcome to the Liberty or Death channel. Patrick Henry was a staunch anti-federalist who objected to the new Constitution because it contained fatal flaws. The most notable flaw was the lack of any punishment for politicians guilty of malfeasance, maladministration, or for politicians who simply ignore the limitations of federal power. In fact, Patrick Henry, who was perhaps the greatest of all early American patriots, refused to have anything to do with the new federal government. He saw it as a prescription for tyranny. Lo and behold what we have today under the Biden regime. They do whatever they want without any repercussions. They get away with it because they have swarms of federal agents and corrupt courts to keep them in power, while they tax us into poverty. And, like any dictatorship, to stay in power they must get everyone's guns, while arming the IRS to the hilt. Meanwhile, Americans are busy waving their flags during MAGA rallies, while their faces are being dutifully stored in FBI and NSA computers as threats to Biden's democracy. The US is supposed to be a constitutionally limited republic, not a mob-ruled democracy. Instead, what we have is a government of threat, duress, and raw power. Nevertheless, the government's stranglehold on Americans requires more than the barrel of a gun. It requires acquiescence and obedience. In other words, their real power comes from the false belief that the federal government has lawful authority over us. As others have pointed out, the Constitution was adopted under fraudulent pretenses for the benefit of a few politicians, landowners, and their henchmen. Thomas Jefferson, imperfect though he was, said the only lawful government is one that rules by consent of the people. It means voluntary consent, it does not mean consent or be shot. In my view, tyranny will continue to get worse as long as Americans hold onto the myth that the Constitution obligates them to obey despots in the name of a fictitious democracy. If the Constitution were strictly followed, then we might have hope. But it is nothing more than a musty document now, a curtain behind which tyrants like Joe Biden and other political prostitutes claim lawful authority. Sniffy Joe, in his demented state, believes he is the government and anyone who disagrees with his policies is a terrorist threat. He says F-15 fighter jets will be used against Americans who disagree with his communist dictatorship. This is how far things have gotten out of hand with a defective constitution. Patrick Henry warned this would happen. But he was not alone. Another patriot named Lysander Spooner, 1808 to 1887, also rejected the authority of the Constitution to enslave us all. Check the links in the description below to read more about these patriots. Thank you for watching.